It's happening. At exactly 5 p.m. Eastern Time this Friday, President Donald J. Trump is expected to sign into law one of the most sweeping and contentious spending bills of his administration. On paper, it's a budget bill, but under the surface, it's a ticking policy time bomb with huge consequences for millions of older Americans, working families, and the future of Social Security. At the center of this political storm is a brand new senior tax credit, a proposal that's stirring hope for some and sparking outrage in others. And behind it all, a deepening debate over retirement, fairness, and whether America is quietly shifting the burden of financial insecurity back onto its aging population. Let's break it down. The centerpiece of Trump's new policy isn't a flashy headline promise or a big speech moment. It's a carefully written section buried deep in the bill. And for seniors, it could change everything. If you turned 65 this year, or are already over that age, and you have a valid Social Security number, you qualify for a $6,000 tax credit every single year until 2028. Let's repeat that, $6,000 off your taxes, every year, for 5 years. But there's a big if, and it's a deal breaker for many. This credit only fully applies if your taxable income after deductions is $75,000 or less for individuals, or $150,000 for married couples filing jointly. Once your income goes above those thresholds, the credit doesn't just shrink, it starts disappearing fast. Here's how it works. For every dollar you make above $75,000, you lose 6 cents from your credit. That's a 6% phase-out rate. So if you earn $100,000 after deductions, that's $25,000 above the limit, you'd lose $1,500 from your $6,000 credit. That leaves you with $4,500. And once your income hits $175,000 individually, or $250,000 for couples, your credit is gone. Zero. This policy is deliberately designed to benefit middle and lower middle income seniors, while excluding the wealthiest retirees entirely. And whether you see that as fair targeting or punishment for success depends on where you stand. Now let's talk about what's not in the bill, because for many seniors, that's just as important. Donald Trump has made one very loud, very consistent promise throughout both of his presidential campaigns. He said he would eliminate taxes on Social Security benefits. He brought it up in speeches. He posted about it online. His campaign ads aired across the country, promising that retirement checks would no longer be taxed by the government. And yet, it's not in the bill. Why? Because to make that happen, Trump would need 60 votes in the Senate. And with Republicans holding a narrow majority, those numbers just don't add up. But even if he could pass it, critics say eliminating Social Security taxes could destroy the very system he claims to protect. The Nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget ran the numbers, and they're alarming. From 2026 to 2035, removing taxes on Social Security benefits would cost the federal government $1.6 trillion in lost revenue. That's money that currently helps fund both Social Security and Medicare. And with that kind of shortfall, Social Security would run out of money by 2032, a full year earlier than currently projected. Medicare would collapse even sooner, in 2030. That's the price tag of Trump's promise, an earlier end to two of America's most relied upon programs. Now, here's where things get even more complicated. Even though this spending bill doesn't cut Social Security directly, it still speeds up its collapse. How? Because this bill also includes major tax cuts, including for tipped workers and people earning overtime, which significantly reduce the pool of money the government collects. And when there's less tax revenue coming in, that means less funding for programs like Social Security and Medicare. The result? According to the CRFB, Social Security will now become insolvent in 2032, 1 year earlier than before. A seemingly unrelated spending bill just quietly shaved off another 12 months from Social Security's lifespan. This is how policy works, slowly, subtly, and often out of sight. But the consequences? They're enormous. Section 4. Which policy helps seniors most? Now let's compare the two major ideas on the table, the $6,000 senior tax credit and the proposed but excluded policy to eliminate taxes on Social Security payments. Which helps retirees more? According to the Tax Foundation, a center-right think tank, the credit is actually more beneficial for the majority of older Americans, especially those in the 20th to 40th income percentiles. Here's why. With the $6,000 credit, middle-income seniors could see their after-tax income increase by 0.7% to 0.9%. By contrast, removing taxes on Social Security would only boost their income by 0.1% to 0.4%. In other words, for most retirees, the tax credit puts more actual money in their pocket. Now, what about the top 20% of earners? The ones who are excluded from the tax credit. Under the proposed Social Security tax repeal, they could have seen a 0.6% increase in after-tax income. But under the current bill, they'll gain less than 0.5%, almost nothing. And for the bottom 20% of earners, there's little change either way. They already pay no taxes on Social Security, and most have their tax liability erased through standard deductions. The senior tax credit barely touches them. So the conclusion? This bill helps middle-income retirees more than the rich or poor. Whether you call that smart targeting or divisive politics is up to you. Let's take a step back. Social Security has always been seen as untouchable, a political third rail, the one thing politicians don't dare cut. And Trump has leaned hard into that, publicly vowing never to touch seniors' benefits. But behind the scenes, things have been shifting. In recent years, Trump and former advisor Elon Musk have pushed the false claim that the Social Security Administration is riddled with fraud. In response, Trump's administration cut SSA staffing dramatically, leading to delays, confusion, and overwhelmed offices. So while benefits weren't technically cut, services suffered. And now, with this new spending bill, we're seeing the full picture. Social Security taxes remain, despite Trump's promise. A $6,000 credit is introduced, but only for a narrow group. Tax revenues shrink, putting more pressure on entitlement programs. And yet, Trump did deliver on some of his headline-grabbing promises. No federal taxes on tips, up to $25,000. No federal taxes on overtime, up to $12,500 for single filers. But just like the senior tax credit, these benefits all expire in 2028. After that, everything is back on the table. So where does that leave America's seniors? For some, this bill is a windfall, thousands of dollars back in their pocket. For others, it's an empty promise, or worse, a Trojan horse hiding long-term cuts. Social Security's timeline has already moved up. Medicare's collapse is inching closer, and for all the campaign promises, the reality is sobering. Trump's spending bill may be hours away from becoming law, but its impact, it will be felt for years, maybe decades to come. The retirement safety net millions depend on is fraying, and unless Congress acts again, fast, America's seniors will be the first to feel it.